I recently found out that more than half of the population on our planet wants to lose weight, and 80 to 85% gain it back afterwards. And I truly believe the reason why people gain weight after they lose it is because they lost it in a very unhealthy and unsustainable way, and that has happened to me as well in the past. So today I wanted to share 7 healthy versus unhealthy ways to release excess body fat. And the goal for this video really is to help you find out what you can do to lose weight and keep it off for life without gaining it back afterwards. So the first one, maybe you've heard me talk about before, is high intensity training. That's something I used to do in the past because there was this one YouTuber I used to follow and she always did these HIIT workouts. She was lean, so I thought if I just train like her, I'm gonna get lean as well. Did it work? Yes. However, it wasn't really very easy to maintain the results I had gotten back then from this high intensity training, and also it was putting a lot of stress on my body. I didn't do very well emotionally and mentally. I felt stressed, I felt uptight, versus now what I've started doing is very slow, calm and gentle aerobic movement, biking, running, inline skating, walks, going for walks, just very gentle stuff, and a little bit of strength training here and there, which doesn't necessarily require me to go to the gym. Right now I'm not going to the gym on a regular basis. I do yoga where I have resistance training with my own body weight, and I have a pull-up bar. But really there's so many ways to do this at home, but just a little bit of strength training is also really, really important for me, because if we have more muscle mass, then it's not that we're increasing our metabolism or our metabolic rate, but our body is burning more calories, so it's going to become very effortless for us to release fat. With this high intensity training, it just jacks up cortisol, and when cortisol is very high and elevated, then it's very easy to fall for junk foods, to overeat. Also the body holds on to fat. It tends to hold on to fat more compared to when we're very relaxed, when we're stress-free, when our serotonin is high. And so high intensity training for me has definitely not worked. The second one that I definitely think is something that is very unsustainable, which you probably also already know if you know this channel, and that is cutting carbohydrates. The problem with cutting carbs, again, is it jacks up cortisol, and while in the short term it may work, same as high intensity training, it does burn a lot of calories, and when we're cutting carbs, we do forcefully create a very big calorie deficit. A lot of it, however, is just water weight and our glycogen stores being empty. When our glycogen stores are filled up, that takes up water weight and space in our body. But you have to understand, these glycogen stores being full is what prevents us from lashing out on other people, from having, blood sugar crashes, from not having enough energy to go through everyday life, from always being dependent on food being around because our glycogen stores are empty, versus if they're full, it's basically like a source of fuel, a source of energy you always have with you wherever you go. So why would you have that empty on purpose just to weigh less? So I think it's very obvious that it doesn't make any sense, even though yes, it will definitely give you very quick results on the scale, and you will look a little bit leaner because obviously your glycogen stores are not there. But you can also look super lean with full glycogen stores if you just have less body fat. So what I have started doing instead, which has given me sustainable, long-lasting, long-term results, is eating abundantly and instead decreasing the dietary fat in my diet to under 10% of my daily calories. So most of the foods I eat already naturally contain fat, like fruits, vegetables, all sources of carbohydrates that I include into my diet. And then if, I fancy it, I'll have an avocado, I'll have some hemp seeds in my dressing in the evening. But keeping the dietary fat low has been such a game changer for making this something that is long lasting. Because again, our body doesn't really need fat for energy. It's more something that is just nice and pleasant to have. But I know a bunch of people who don't eat any overt fats in their diet. They're doing great. I've done that at times as well. And, eating overt fats is really just, if you're looking to slim down, unnecessary because it adds extra calories, but it doesn't really give you the energy. So, when we are slimming down, we don't want to feel lethargic in the process. We still want to be able to enjoy life and go through every day, go to work, do whatever we got to do to make money or go to school and learn. So, The third one is also a trend I'm seeing a lot on Instagram right now, and that is increasing protein. A lot of people think that when we increase protein, it'll make fat loss easier. And while I do understand where that thought, that belief is coming from, all we're really doing is putting more strain on our body, because our body then has to convert the protein into energy. Yes, our body does need protein, but what it really needs ultimately is amino acids. And amino acids are found abundantly in fruits and vegetables. So the problem with increasing protein is that it is, again, a lot of stress on our body, that it then doesn't have as much for other bodily functions anymore. So, it'll put strain on the liver, on the kidneys, and again, it will not really allow for that very healthy, sustainable, long-lasting result. So instead of increasing protein, what I've done is increase high water content foods, which naturally contain an abundance of amino acids, fruits and vegetables mainly, but also things like, avocado and hemp seeds in moderation. And that has allowed me to get all the nutrients my body needs while also feeling way more satiated, and again, not putting that strain on my body, but instead relieving a lot of strain from my body, that my body can simultaneously to losing weight also actually get healthier, because we don't want to sacrifice our health just for the sake of weight loss or for looking better, right? We want both. We want health, vitality, and vibrancy go up simultaneously with our weight going down. Then the fourth one is one I'm not generally opposed to, and that is juice feasting or water fasting, even though I do not recommend that stuff if the goal is mainly just losing weight and releasing excess body fat. And the reason is that it's very hard to get back into a very good routine after a juice feast or after a water fast. At least that's been my experience and my observation in the raw food community, is that something that is way more important in the beginning is to build sustainable, long-lasting habits that you can do for the rest of your life because you enjoy them so much. Versus a juice feast or a water fast is something you obviously wouldn't probably do for the rest of your life. So it can kind of hinder us from actually building these sustainable habits, because after a water fast, usually in the refeeding time, the body is eating a little bit more to make up for the caloric deficit we've had during the water fast. So, which there's nothing wrong with, but again, it'll just, have us have a much harder time to build these long-lasting habits. So what I would do instead is, and what I did, I started having fruit for breakfast every single day, banana smoothie, melon, mangoes, papaya, whatever I have on hand. And then, I personally didn't transition slowly enough. Looking back, I wish I had transitioned more slowly to a high raw vegan diet. But just really focusing on building those habits gradually and stopping wherever you feel like you're good. If you just want to continue eating fruit for breakfast for the rest of your life and keep the rest the same. It's totally fine. You're still going to see results. You're still going to improve your physical health. It's just about how far do you want to go. But yeah, a water fast or a juice fast, it's more of a quick fix, which also can give you very like deep and long lasting results. But if you then revert back to going back to where you were, then you might kind of undo the positive results, or it might have not just really had that big of an impact, versus instead putting that energy, that time into actually building just one habit, whether that's moving your body more, so you're detoxifying through your lymphatic system, and again also supporting the physical health, or whether that's having fruit for breakfast or drinking more water, all these little things. And then the fifth one that I personally think is maybe not 100% sustainable, and that is just drastically cutting your calories and counting them every single day. I definitely think counting calories has a time and place on our weight loss journeys. I personally recommend tracking them for a couple days, until you feel comfortable with knowing, hey, how much does this have? How much does this have? Just to know we're getting in enough calories so that we don't binge out on junk food. And also so we can eliminate things that are very, very high in calories that add up and that, again, make it maybe a little bit harder for us. Things like tahini, nut butters, which I don't think there's anything wrong with these things, but they do add a lot of calories with very little volume. So it's just important to be aware of these things. And then, so instead of cutting and counting your calories very dogmatically, find a routine and dial in that routine that you wouldn't mind doing for the rest of your life. Because a lot of people have this mindset, and I was trapped in this mindset myself for a long time, of like, hey, okay, once I've lost the weight, I can go back to eating the way I used to eat before. But the thing is, if we do that, then we're also going to go back to the way we were before with, our health, with our size, with the size of our body. All these things are going to revert back to the way, if we eat again the way we used to. Of course, it'll take some time. It's not going to be like snap, one day later we're going to be back to where we were. It's just going to be very slow and gradual. So it doesn't make sense losing weight in a way that we don't want to carry on long term. So instead, there are so many ways you can do a healthy diet that is going to give you sustainable, long-lasting results that you can do in a long-term way that you can do for the rest of your life. You don't have to go on a diet that you'll only do for 8 weeks and then you stop again. It's totally not necessary. So really spend some time exploring different ways of eating, exploring different ways of nourishing your body until you found the thing that's giving you results that you also wouldn't mind doing for the rest of your life. And that also brings me to point number 6, and that's the 80-20 rule that basically says anything is fine in moderation. Also something I've heard so many times. And again, the problem with that is that we crave what we eat. I just had some durian 2 days ago and I'm still thinking about durian because what we put in our body is what we're going to crave. And, for the past few years, I've just been putting so much delicious fruit in my body. So the first thing I'm thinking about when I feel, the desire to eat some food coming up is fruit, is melon, is mangoes, is bananas, because I've been eating it for so long. And now, it hasn't always been like that, but now when I'm sitting on a table with people eating pasta, meat, maybe even burgers, pizza, all these things, the thought of putting that into my body doesn't even cross my mind anymore because my body has adjusted so much to the foods I've been eating. So what I recommend instead of the 80-20 rule, what I have done, and instead of eating, unhealthy foods in moderation, is to readjust your microgut biome to its natural state where it craves what is most ideal, most optimal for our physical health, and to just eat that. And yes, it'll take time. So I really, 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 really wish I had done a very slow transition without pushing myself too hard into going, fully raw all at once, but to take it super slow. But over time, if we're consistently fueling up on, good sources of carbohydrates, not good, but like feel good sources of carbohydrates, then our microgut biome is going to adjust and we're going to crave the foods that we've been putting into our body. And then the last one also ties into this a little bit, and that is kind of this intuitive eating era that's also going on right now, where you just eat intuitively. And while I definitely think listening to your intuition is very important, so if you're craving, let's say, tomatoes and lettuce, then it's really, really important that we eat that. But at the same time, I think it is also so important to take our goals serious. Because to me, taking our goals serious is an act of self-love. If I just say whatever, I would like that goal, I would like to slim down, I would like to, whatever goal you have, but I'm not going to take action, to me, that is kind of I feel like we're not really taking ourselves serious. We're not really taking our wishes serious. And so to me, discipline is a form of self-love. And still at the same time, I think it's super important to enjoy the process and to find a process that gets us to our goals that is still fun. I don't want to drag myself through life. I don't want to force myself to do things I don't enjoy doing. And once we have built these habits, which in the beginning it will require discipline, 1000%, but once the habits are ingrained, it doesn't even require any discipline. It doesn't require any willpower. It's just part of us. And that's how, in my opinion, we get to sustainable, long-lasting weight loss results that won't leave, and that will stay for the rest of our lives. And if you're tired of yo-yoing back and forth with your weight and you want to lose the weight for good, then definitely make sure to check out the free link in the description box to access my free weight loss jumpstart kit. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!